Picture this, a river so filthy you wouldn't want to dip your toe in it, yet this dirty river is the source of Australia's biggest selling fish. In fact, 7,000 tonnes of the fish is eaten in this country every year, direct from the putrid waters of Vietnam's Mekong river system. And David Richardson travelled to the region to file this special report.
Water that certainly wouldn't drink, probably wouldn't swim in, and you certainly wouldn't want to be eating fish out of it.
The Mekong River is the 12th biggest in the world, snaking nearly 5,000 kilometres through 6 countries. Its murky waters provide life to millions who live on its waterfront. But the mighty Mekong is an environmental disaster, and that's where it affects Australia, because Australia's biggest selling fish comes from here, and most Australians wouldn't have a clue. This is your fish and chips right there. This fish farm is one of hundreds scattered across the Mekong Delta, farms that provide fish to massive processing plants for export to Australia. 7,000 tonnes a year, making this fish the biggest seller in this country today.
This will be the most mass-produced fish in the world within 3 years, and all off the Mekong Delta.
Do Australians really know what they're eating?
I don't think they do know what they're eating, and we know that it's being sold up and down the coast of Australia as Pacific dory or Pacific roughy.
But this farm is nowhere near the Pacific, and the fish in these massive dams aren't dory or roughy. They're freshwater catfish called basa, skinless, boneless, bland tasting, but cheap. There's your basa.
Yes, that's basa.
It's Vietnam's fastest growing industry, Australia one of its biggest customers. This pen alone holds more than 5,000 fish, and there are 200 pens sitting in the muddy Mekong. Another series of inland dams filled with Mekong river water lie just metres away, and that's the problem. The river water, the Mekong here,
along Mekong
is bad.
For many farmers feel and use chemical for the rice. And after that, it's go illegal. But they worry don't for the...
So chemicals for their rice.
Yes.
And it gets into the water.
Yes.
Tommy Howe runs one of the newest and cleanest basa operations in the Mekong Delta. 20% of his stock is bound for our fish and chip shops, our dining room tables. The fish will reach 1.5 kilos before being processed and exported. How long before he is 1.2 kilo?
5 months.
So in 5 months...
5 months, yes.
You will process and send overseas?
Yes.
Tommy will sell this fish for about $5 a kilo. But while his operation is cleaner than most, by Australian standards, it's poor. Across the river, it's simply disgraceful. This island is dotted with basa dams. The water is stagnant, putrid, even the fish are dying. Pipes that are meant to be opened to flush water into the dams are blocked. It's a one-man operation. The guard here is armed with a knife. Not happy to see us, he demanded we leave. The only way to reach these farms is by boat. The dams are crudely built, often polluted by sewage, pesticides and other fertilisers. But you don't know what's in that water.
No, you've got no idea what's in that water. You've got no idea what industrial pollution, what chemicals. You don't know where that water's been. There's no sewerage in Vietnam to my knowledge.
Yeah, there is. That water.
That river.
Importers assure us fish farmed in these dams would never be brought to Australia. They're only sold locally. But even the waters of the Mekong itself are filled with pollutants. When you come here to the Mekong River, you find it impossible to understand how a government can ban you eating fish caught in Sydney Harbour for the next 3 months because of a pollution scare, and yet we import millions and millions of fish fillets caught in this slop. If you have a look at it, you know why they call the Mekong Delta the toilet bowl of Asia. But new tests being conducted by Australian food standards scientists have found no hint of E. coli in recent months, although they did find a banned substance, a chemical called malachite green or leucomalachite green.
There were only seven samples in all of imported and local fish that had a minor residue of malachite green. Now, of course, that isn't a safety issue, but it was illegal, so we've immediately gone back to the importer, and also to let the states and territories know where it was locally produced fish, to let them know that it's not on, you can't use malachite green.
Lydia Buchtman from Food Standards Australia and New Zealand found 10 culprits out of 60 using malachite green. 70% were Vietnamese. Is every batch tested?
It is a random testing process. It certainly begins with 100% and goes down as an importer is clear, but certainly the minimum amount is 5%.
We know that the standard they've set for the importers is 1 container in 20, of which they don't test the whole container, they only take random samples out of that container.
Michael Miraclis is a third-generation fish wholesaler.
Malachite green is a banned substance in most countries of the world, including this one.
Is it dangerous?
Malachite green may be possibly the next asbestos, we don't know. I mean, Food Standards Australia would tell you that they don't consider it to be a problem. If it's not a problem, why is it banned?
Tests of basa imports in recent weeks have found no trace of chemicals, but critics argue testing 1 container in 20 is just not enough. And a second study of the fish, privately commissioned late last year, found other disturbing results. These are the test results on 3 lots of Vietnamese catfish. I mean, what does that tell you about the presence of malachite green?
It tells me that 2 out of the 3 lots failed. 1 failed absolutely comprehensively, 10 times over the limit of 2 milligrams per kilogram.
We're confident that the imported fish here is perfectly safe to eat, and we should be eating more fish because it's good for us.
Australian importers agree, saying this water, the muddy Mekong, simply looks worse than it really is. They maintain they'll send any suspect batches back to Vietnam. And with Australia unable to produce enough fish to feed us, imports are set to increase again this year. Basa, the ugly Mekong catfish, will be our biggest buy.
I'm a great believer that instead of having Australian Quarantine Inspection Service in this country watching what's going out, they should probably be over there and watching what's coming in.
It's a fair point, and tomorrow night the lengths fish importers go to hide the true identity of Vietnamese catfish, including making up names of fish that don't exist.